Tell us about your unit. You say it's effective. Do you have enough resources? Do you have enough manpower? And how do you run from one area to the other, knowing that you can't sustain the entire Cape Flats?
Yes. I think what we must be very clear of, Yusuf, we are working currently in 16 gang areas, because that is where the heart of the problem is. We cannot do the work of the stations. So the stations still have to police. Even here in Hanover Park, where we have a very active presence, the station still needs to do the day-to-day policing.
General, we've seen your men and women in action tonight. Very tactical, appears to be well trained. Talk us through a typical operation like we've seen this evening. What happens and how do they work?
Well, the operation, like you've seen this evening, is not just an off-the-cuff operation. It's planned. We have people who sit down and plan these operations. We write an operational plan. We brief all the officers in charge of the operation. They in turn brief the members on the ground, and then we go onto the streets with a very clear vision, a very clear mandate as to what we're going to do, who we're going to be launching our operation against.
So let's take a typical example. Shooting in Hanover Park. You are here, you sustain visibility. A few days later, shooting in Mitchell's Plain. You then run to Mitchell's Plain. A few days later, shooting in Lentegeur. It must be running a game of what, almost cat and mouse.
Not really, Yusuf. Like I said to you earlier on, we are focused on particular targets. Yes, because we have a large number of detectives, I can deploy detectives to almost every shooting that takes place. But those detectives only, in most instances, offer guidance to the station detectives and say, this is what you have to do, this is who has been shot. If it's one of our targets, we take over that investigation. But in most instances, it is a station problem that we assist with and we help. So we are not running all over the show. Our minister is doing a lot of work in putting and bringing together all the departments. But yes, you are correct. If we look at at gangsterism as in a whole, then gangsterism is not a police problem. It's gang violence that's a police problem. Gangsterism has to be dealt with, like you say, on a multi-faceted approach with all departments. You know, we need to work with justice. We need to work with correctional services, with social services, with education. One of my biggest issues is when you patrol here during the day and during a school day is the amount of children you see not in school, and what is being done there, you know.
Your scale, your whatever. What do you mean? Why not? Oh. Like that? Yeah. You said yeah. You're setting it fast. What? Let's change this. Initially. This shooting. Yes, my time is going. Yeah. For this.
We know that the heart of the problem appears to be a fight for territory between rival gangs. That is why we have tit-for-tat shootings. But what is the core of the problem? Is it the illegal weapon trade? Is it drugs? Is it simply, well, that is how gangs operate?
More than anything else, Yusuf, all that you have mentioned plays a part, but more than anything else is the drug trade. That is the crux of what we are facing here. The fact that two gangs will shoot each other across on this field, it's because of drugs. It's because of drugs. You Yes, guns play a big part as well. The proliferation of firearms, the acquisition of ammunition, all of that plays a part. But the big money spinner is the drugs. And you know, for as long as we are only able to deal with the problem here, and not with the big drug lords in Constantia and Sea Point and all over the show, we are not going to deal with the problem.
General, poker, how are we going to catch the big fish?
Okay, as I've said to you, the Poker Act is the Prevention of Organised Crime Act. It gives us very clear guidelines and stipulates what we need to do to nail the big fish. One of those is racketeering. Right? And racketeering is a large charge, if I can put it that way. It encompasses murder, it encompasses extortion, it encompasses money laundering, etc. And this is where we are going to. We are going to, when we talk about the big fish, we are going to take away his assets, his ill-gotten gains, if I may put it that way, and his houses, cars and everything, because it is from the lush suburbs that this chaos is orchestrated and managed.
Do we have enough place in our prisons to take all these gangsters and keep them behind bars?
I think this is why we say this is a multifaceted approach. Correctional services needs to be part of this entire operation. It needs to understand what we are doing with the courts, how is it going to impact on them as correctional services, and what should they be putting in place.
Now, we know the Minister of Police has indicated that the other gang-infested areas like Westbury in Gauteng, Annandale, Hanover Park, they might consider taking the AGU to those parts of Gauteng and also to other parts of South Africa like Port Elizabeth. These gangs seem to be well orchestrated, and the Western Cape seems to be the heartland of these gangsters, and it spreads to other provinces.
Yes, I think we've seen that collusion between gangs across the borders of the provinces, and we're well aware of it. And so yes, AGU units are going to be set up in other provinces as well.
Now, we know the police have made a series of breakthroughs, especially drug labs, manufacturing plants in KwaZulu-Natal, more recently in Gauteng. We haven't seen some major breakthroughs in the Western Cape. Where's the problem? Is it a lack of intelligence, or are the drugs being brought in from other provinces?
Yes. Yes, drugs are being brought in from other provinces, mainly Gauteng. But I think in terms of the AGU, we are still a little bit too young to have made that big impact. Also, our partnership with the DPCI is also crucial, because the DPCI works on all the big the drug labs and drug dealing, but I think from the side of the AGU, we are going to make an impact into that area as well.
After the break, we hear from residents about life on the Cape Flats.